Hi there, I'm Paul Kirtley, founder of Frontier Bushcraft and author of Paul Kirtley's blog, the leading source of bushcraft information on the net. In this video, I'm going to share with you some simple tips and tricks for using a traditional flint and steel. Before we had matches, people would use flint and steel on a day-to-day basis. They'd use it for lighting their fires in their home, and they'd also use it for lighting fires while on the trail. Explorers would use a flint and steel set, and frontiersmen would use a flint and steel set. So they were a part of everyday life really for a lot of people. These days not so many people know how to use them, and in this video it's my aim to show you a few tricks and a few tips on how to use them efficiently. It's also a useful skill set to have because it teaches you about a broader range of fire lighting skills. Certainly if you're using a modern sparking device, those sparks are very hot, and as you'll see in a second, the sparks you get from a flint and steel set are not as hot. So it gives you the ability to light things in a way that you maybe wouldn't be able to otherwise. Also, if you're interested in learning fire by friction, being able to take a smouldering ember to a tinder bundle to flame, there's a lot of parallel with how you take your smouldering piece of tinder from your flint and steel set to flame as well. So it broadens out and strengthens all of your fire lighting skills in learning how to do this. So what we need is a traditional steel. This is a relatively small one. This is ideal for carrying with you. You can also get larger ones, and also a piece of flint, and you need a couple of sharp edges on that to keep you going. And if you look at this, when we strike, two things to note. First off, the sparks are relatively dull compared to, say, a modern fire flash. Modern fire flash got very, very hot sparks. These sparks are a little bit less hot. These are orange, yellowy orange colour, which means they're not as hot as really bright white sparks that you get from the modern fire flash. Also note that a lot of the sparks go upwards, so if you try to knock sparks off this down onto a piece of tinder, it's not very efficient. You're better off putting the tinder on top, whether that's a very, very traditional tinder like Amadou or something like a charcloth. Anything like that needs to be placed on top of the flint rather than underneath, if you're using the method that I'm showing you here. And also, the last thing to note is the wrist action. Many people will take a very rigid approach to trying to knock a spark out of this, and as you can see, I'm not really achieving very much. What you need is quite a light touch, and you're aiming to scrape, you can see that, scrape the steel down the front of the flint, like so. And in doing that, you create the spark, and you need to be able to have some flexibility in your wrist to do that, like so. So what we do, I've got some char cloth here. This is just cotton cloth that's been charred. It's basically carbon that's left. You can see that there. Place that on there, on top of the sharp edge, just behind the edge. I'm going to strike. Once we get our char cloth lit, here you can see it's lit, hopefully you can see that. Once you get your char cloth lit, roll it up and consolidate. Then you can take that to your tinder bundle. So, to recap, make sure that you're using the sharpest edge of the flint, make sure that you put your tinder on top of the flint and not underneath it, and make sure that you're using a fluid, flexible action when you're striking the steel against the flint, and that should serve you well. So there you have it, some simple tips and tricks on using the traditional flint and steel. Hope you find those useful. I hope they serve you well. If you'd like to get more tips and tricks like this one, please go over to my website, that's paulkirtley.co.uk, where you'll find 20 free videos just like this one, plus loads more information on there as well. All the information on there is free, so go over, get your 20 free videos now. That's at paulkirtley.co.uk, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.